Good afternoon. Bermuda and the people of St. George's need a hotel that will bring jobs and opportunity for Bermudians. That's why we are deeply concerned about the stunning lack of commitment to Bermudians being displayed by the OBA on this hotel project, and the lack of transparency surrounding the awarding of this contract. On Monday, the OBA intends to force through the St. George's Hotel Act, a piece of legislation that has zero commitment to training Bermudians and zero commitment to providing opportunities for Bermudian entertainers. This represents a blatant and serious dereliction of duty to the people of Bermuda. Capable, qualified Bermudians that are out of work need to feed their families and keep a roof over their heads. They deserve a fair chance to compete for jobs and opportunity in their own country. But their OBA government has sold them out. The PLP's position is clear. Bermudians must come first in jobs and opportunities in our own country. The OBA's position is that Bermudians don't deserve any consideration or protection. Yesterday, the Minister of Tourism presented the opposition with 2 pages of changes to the original bill that not only remove training of Bermudians as a requirement of the concessions agreement and removes the requirement for local entertainment to be employed, it also allows for the sale of Crown land, gives the developers the ability to create subsidiaries as they desire, commits Bermuda to a 262-year agreement while not disclosing the plans for the development or the Master Development Plan agreement governing the project. Contains no apparent out clauses for Bermuda government if the developer fails to meet target dates for commencement of the project or other failures to keep their end of the agreement. The Progressive Labour Party wants a hotel in St. George's just as much as anyone else. However, we refuse to sit by idly and watch a flawed process continue without saying something. The OBA wants Parliament to grant this 262-year lease and planning permission without even sharing the plans for the development or the Master Development Agreement that will govern the project. How can Parliament be expected to give its approval to something that we haven't even seen that will tie the hands of Bermuda for the next 262 years? The Minister of Tourism must speak to these issues and explain why the government has taken the stance they have. Why is the OBA government so steadfast in granting everything under the sun to foreign investors and not fighting for Bermudians to secure their futures? Let me reiterate that the PLP support any development in Bermuda, but the people of Bermuda deserve the transparency, accountability, and honesty that the OBA promised Bermudians prior to being elected in 2012. Thank you.
So why not just put your concerns aside and work with government? You say we're at a time the economy is still not doing very well and we need jobs. To just put your concerns aside, to work with them, to just help you push it through.
Good question, Tarai. I did reach out. The minister reached out to us. We had a meeting yesterday. I discussed the proposed amendments with caucus last night. And as a result of the deliberations in caucus, I reached out to the minister and asked him if he would defer it so that we could collaborate further. He said that he would talk to his people, but he wasn't overly optimistic that they would be willing to do that. So we're always willing to collaborate.
I'm not sure about this planning not being made available or being passed through without the usual procedure. There are steps of development and permissions and what have you. Surely that can't come until they get what will be signed in Parliament on Monday.
Well, they're asking us to sign off on the lease. But the Master Development Agreement, surely, Brian, we don't know what's in it.
That goes to planning.
Well, no, Master Development Agreement does not. The Master Development Agreement would include things like concessions, how many villas they might build, what size of the hotel. Then that can go to planning, the actual plans. No, we don't expect to see the actual plans that will be submitted to planning for approval. We don't expect to see those just yet. Mind you, they have had 14 months of negotiations. I would think that they might have moved that along a little bit.
In view of the fact that Pink Beach was a fairly similar situation where the owner, developer, steamrolled his way through an awful lot of major environmental issues and got away with it, but we've got a hotel and we've got work for labour, and it hasn't gone bankrupt, as was suggested. Isn't that somewhat similar to what's going on here? We're almost desperate to the point.
No. I think they're two completely different projects. Pink Beach has a private home component, has a hotel component, whereas the development in St. George's has several very, very large components. The hotel, which we're not sure yet if it's a 122-room hotel. We're not sure if it's a 238-room hotel. These are numbers that have been bandied about. We're not sure. You have to remember that they also are looking at building or rebuilding the golf course. They're looking at 90 condominiums, several villas, some fractionals. So they're two completely different animals.
Also, let me just say this very clearly. The government is asking Bermudians to give up millions of dollars over 10 years. Payroll tax, every concession you think of. This particular development goes beyond any other concessions we've ever done. But in this particular agreement, we are not asking them to be accountable to the people of Bermuda by training Bermudians, by ensuring that entertainment is there, local entertainment. We can't do that. We can't just give something to someone without any clear directions or commitment to the island other than building and them becoming very wealthy over a period of time. We promised Bermudians, or the OBA promised Bermudians, jobs. So we had to show, or we should tie in, that the building of this particular project ties in with jobs. That's all Bermudians are asking. But to just give away and say, well, we have a building, and we hope that Bermudians will be there. We'll ensure some Bermudians are there. There's no training involved. We can't be doing that. And then, so the opposition has to hold the government accountable for the promises, and above all, for the future of the next generation. We are aware that the developers promised to build a development in Turks and Caicos. They haven't even started yet. And so why should we step out on faith and assume that something will take place without any direct commitment? So that's why this government this opposition want to make sure that every checks and balances is in place before someone comes in and makes a promise and doesn't fulfill it. That's what we're asking for.
How much faith do you have that this hotel really will be built? It's not the first time, obviously, that a hotel in St. George has been promised.
Well, first of all, Troy, let me say this. I hope it does. I really hope it does. I hope we can get through, the master agreement and some of these issues. I really do, because Bermuda could use a hotel. Bermudians need the jobs, notwithstanding the fact that they want that removed from their agreement. The compulsory aspect of hiring Bermudians. But let me say that I hope that it does go forward. What concerns me is, and you'll know, that this particular site has been flawed from the beginning. It all started around Jetgate. That's where Jetgate originated from, this same site. But the Stipper family themselves, there is a cloud hanging over, and you'll be aware of some of the things that bring that about. But am I faithful? I'm going to be faithful, just like you and everyone else in this room and everyone in the country. What worries me is that in 2012, this same group, this same developer, had a press conference in Turks and Caicos and said, we're going to build a $500 million development. And in January this year, said that they're going to break ground this year. And it hasn't happened. So that gives me cause for concern. none of which is the Ponzi scheme that's out there and the possible connection, and of course the Stepper family have denied that, and could be. But I just have a little concern when you have a press conference and you say that you're going to start a $500 million development, and you haven't started. Which leads me into the master development agreement, which we haven't seen. Do we have a start date? Is it going to be similar to Bazarian's agreement? Whereas if it doesn't start by a stipulated time, well, then we're going to take the lease from you and we're going to offer it to someone else. I haven't seen that yet. What happens if he gets 50% of the way through and then stops? Do we have any safeguards for that property? Or are we going to be stuck with it for 262 years?